Good evening, and welcome to the 2000 MSA Presidential and Vice Presidential Debates. I'm your moderator for this evening, Matthew Engelberg. Tonight we are going to present a broad range of issues throughout campus that are pertinent this year and into next year. First, we're going to be speaking with 4 of our vice presidential candidates. 2 of the vice presidential candidates weren't able to come tonight, so I'm going to introduce them. Beginning to my left is Sarah Curtin from the Defend Affirmative Action Party. To her left is Sarah Sweat from the Frat Party. To her left is Jim Secreto from the Independent, and all the way on the right is Elise Erickson from representing the Blue Party. Welcome, candidates. All right, we're going to start out with Jessica. Jessica, if you could please give us a little bit of a background of yourself, your experience, and why you think you would make a good vice presidential candidate.
Hi, my name is Jessica Curtin. I'm running for vice president with the Defend Affirmative Action Party. And I've been a student leader on campus for several years now. I'm one of the leaders of the movement to defend affirmative action on campus and of the student movement that's been building on campus. The reason that I'm running for MSA and that our party is running for MSA is because we feel that these are the most important MSA elections that have ever happened at U of M and the most important student government elections that will be happening in this country. The lawsuits that our university is facing against our affirmative action programs are likely to go to the Supreme Court, and these cases are likely to set national precedent around affirmative action policies. And we feel that what we're facing right now is the possibility of the resegregation of higher education, and that is why we're running for MSA, because we are running as the leaders and to make MSA the actual leadership of the emerging civil rights movement that's emerging in this country and on this campus. We feel that the Center for Individual Rights attack on higher education is part of a national attack on all the integration and all the equality that has been achieved up to this point by the civil rights movement. And we feel that it is our job, it is our generation's most important fight to defend those gains of that movement, and that is why we're running for MSA.
Okay, Jessica, thank you for that.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to Sarah Sweet, representing the Frat Party. Sarah, what are some of your party's main issues that you would like to discuss?
By the way, it's Sarah Sweat, it's not Sarah Sweet. Some of our main issues, we very much want to inject levity into MSA. We believe that sometimes things don't get done because they take themselves too seriously. On that note, many of our tenets are to put Coca-Cola into the drinking fountains here. We want MSA to pass a resolution for no homework. We think that would be a very significant thing and bring together the campus with popular support. In addition, the Friends Rebelling Against Tyranny Party very strongly supports Gargoyle Magazine as a tenet of humor in the university. And what else? There's really not much else, but we're a very loose party, and most of our candidates are able to have their own opinions, and it's not a very set bunch of things that we have in common. The thing we have in common is that we love the university and we love Gargoyle Magazine and we love laughing. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Sweat. Now we're going to move on to Jim Secreto from your Independent. Jim, why do you think that now you don't pretty much have too many issues to put up because you are independent? There's not any issues that go right along with the party, like some of the other candidates. So what are some of the things that you stand for?
Well, our platform is based on saving money for students. And we believe that the #1 goal of MSA should be saving money for students. It should be lobbying for lower tuition. Right now we feel that MSA does things that are not applicable to students, that don't directly affect student lives. So we hope to transform MSA to more of a service organization, less of a political organization, and make sure that it is directly connected to students. One of our major proposals is the privatization of the food service system. Right now, the food service system at the university is a monopoly, which means that in no way is it, students don't have a say in what goes on, and nothing can be done to change that. But we feel if we privatize the university food system, like other Big Ten universities like Northwestern has done, you will get cheaper food and better quality, because it will have to be responsive to students. The other thing is housing. We feel that the housing is out of control in Ann Arbor. Sometimes in Ann Arbor it costs as much to live in Ann Arbor as it would in New York or San Francisco. And we feel that the university needs to take steps for better, more attractive upperclassmen housing. Right now, Bates, Cambridge House, not attractive to students. So we hope to push this through MSA, and by doing this, decrease all costs for students.
All right, thanks very much, Jim. All right, now moving on to our final vice presidential candidate here with us today is Elise Erickson, representing the Blue Party. Ms. Erickson, what are some of the platforms that your party stands for?
Okay. Well, as a representative of the Blue Party, there are some things that are very principal to the way we run our party. And first and foremost, the Blue Party is a group of individuals that can have varying ideological beliefs, and we believe that we can all work together regardless of our differences. And with that, Glenn and I, who is my running mate, have come up with a phrase that's going to help us to show what our platform is, and that is called CATCH, C-A-T-C-H. And C stands for connectivity. C, under connectivity, we're looking to create something called the Quality of Life Consortium. And with this, we'll be able to address community issues from all different places on campus, things that affect students in different ways, things like diversity, things like racism, things involving safety on campus, health issues. All of these different things are very important to students, and each one has a different perspective. And we want to bring all of those together and be able to make solid recommendations. That's very important. We also have, A stands for academics, and we have several new academic programs, including an online audit, where we can evaluate your academic career as you're going along, find out what programs you still need to include into your four-year plan so that you can graduate on time. And you can do that online. That's something that's very needed on this campus. T stands for teamwork. That talks about how we all work as a team regardless of what we believe. That's crucial to Blue Party. C is concepts, meaning our mission. Our mission statement concepts is that, again, we work together as a team, regardless of our ideological beliefs. And finally, health stands for H. And with health issues, students are not just students, they're also people too. And with that, we have varying health concerns on this campus that we're going to address through a UHS review, through improving lighting on off-campus property, issues like that.
Okay, thanks very much, Ms. Erickson. All right, now if we can, I'd like to move into some more maybe personal issues about each one of our vice presidential candidates today. We're going to start over here with Ms. Curtin again. Ms. Curtin, why do you think that you would make a good vice president? What experience do you have with MSA or with any other clubs or parties throughout campus in your 4 years since you've been here?
Well, I've been on MSA for the past 2 years. I'm serving my second term right now. I've been the co-chair of the Peace and Justice Commission for my second year for doing that now. And I'm well known as a student leader on the campus, both leading the fight against racism and leading the fight against sexism on campus. I'm a member of the Coalition to Defend Affirmative Action by Any Means Necessary on campus, and I'm also an intervener in the lawsuits against the University of Michigan. So I'm a named co-defendant in the lawsuit against the law school. I've spoken at a lot of rallies on campus, and I've basically been one of the most public leaders along with other members of our party in the fight to defend affirmative action. And I mean, basically I am one of the student leaders, and I want to be one of the official leaders of the student government so that, you know, we can build the student movement.
All right, thanks very much, Jessica. Moving on to Sarah from representing the frat party. Sarah, what experience do you have that you think would qualify you to be vice president of the University of Michigan student body?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that I'm a very independent candidate, and I'm very excited to speak my mind about whatever I feel. And I also think that I'm very approachable, and that students would be able to come up and talk to me about any kind of constituent problems that they were interested in resolving. I work very hard for Gargoyle Magazine, as I might have mentioned, and I get a great deal of expertise working there with how to actually work on a deadline and publish a newspaper. Also, I have an outsider approach, as Steve Forbes would say, to the whole thing of MSA. I've never served on MSA, being an underclassman, and I think that I could really have a really fun time and build my resume. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Sarah. Moving on to Jim, from the Independent. Jim, moving on pretty much with the same questions here, what are the qualifications that you have that would qualify you to be Vice President of the Michigan Student Assembly?
Well, for the past year, I've been working with the American Civil Liberties Union to protect rights for students and to protect constitutional issues that are applicable to students. Recently, we did the Know Your Rights Handbook and How to Have a Legal House Party Handbook, and that was very nice. And we felt that something like that, which was a rights issue, but it was a rights issue that directly affected students, and it wasn't intellectual, so to speak, but it was something that people could apply in their daily lives. Also, I've been a member of the Michigan Daily, former member of the Michigan Daily, and we've worked to come up with some pretty good policy ideas for the University of Michigan to try to make it a better place.
All right, thanks very much, Jim. And finally, Elise, from the Blue Party, what are the areas of expertise that would qualify you to be Vice President?
Okay. I think one of the most important things that MSA does is serves as a liaison between administrators and students. And as a representative last year, I ran as a first-year fall semester freshman, and I got into the role of representing students to the Board of Regents and trying to find a solution to the fact that we don't have a seating voting member on the Board of Regents. And through that process, I was able to meet many administrators, talk with regents one-on-one, and find out what the concerns were and how we could further develop the relationship between students and regents. And with this process, we've come up with some very solid solutions that we could try and implement. Now, it's not easy to do this because administrators and regents, have been doing things a lot longer than we have. But with this experience, I think that we can take the next step and that we can go forward. That's one part of what we do. The other part is caring about students and student concerns. And so being a nursing student, that's what we're training to do, is to care for people. And through this, I think we can address student issues very concisely, health issues, health concerns, improve the structures that are already in place, including UHS. Thanks.
All right, thanks very much, Elise. All right, now we're going to stick right there with the Blue Party, move on to our next question, sort of loop it up a little bit. Elise, there's been a lot that have gone on this year, what with Michigama and lots of just controversial issues that the university has faced. What do you anticipate as being the most important or the most pertinent issues in the upcoming school year?
Okay. The most important issue that I can see as a sophomore on this campus is making sure that students are represented on administrative boards and different places like that from all communities on campus. Right, with the structure of MSA, we don't have all of the student voices. And so in order to do that, we need to include more people into our structure. And so what we'd like to implement, as we said before, the Quality of Life Consortium, the QLC. With this, we draw in many, many other opinions on campus that would help to fulfill this deficit that happens on MSA, because we don't have a full range of opinions. And with all of those opinions, we can come together, make solid decisions, make realistic proposals, and facilitate that with the administration. And that's MSA's role. Thanks.
All right, thanks very much, Elise. Jim, pretty much the same question there. Expectations of being Vice President, how will you support your president when some of these issues come up, and what do you feel are going to be the most pertinent issues next year?
The most pertinent issue is the cost of college. Anyone that lives here, that goes to school here, knows that it's horrible how much that a normal human being in the United States has to pay to attend higher education. And if Daddy isn't footing the bill, a lot of students have to cover the cost of their textbooks, their housing themselves. And that can be a large barrier to higher education. If people want to go on to graduate school, post-undergraduate studies, they need to be able to afford it. And if they can't, what's the point of us being here? It's nice to talk about rights, it's nice to talk about administrators, but if we can't even enjoy our college experience because we can't afford it, what's the point of going here? So through MSA, we hope to lower the costs, all costs, for students.
All right, thanks very much, Jim. Sarah, going on with the same issues that we're talking about right now, what are your expectations of the next coming school year as in terms of issues that we're going to rule the year?
I believe the main issues are the campus is very divided between people who take themselves too seriously and people who don't take themselves seriously enough. And in the frat party, we wish to join the two groups, and in so doing, change the name of MSA to Brothers and Sisters Together, Allied for Democracy. No, that's not right. Hold on, we had this great acronym, and let me think. Brothers and Sisters Together Advocating Real Democracy. We believe that that would basically help bring a unity and a levity to MSA. That's all I have to say. And also, we think that we should give Gargoyle Magazine lots and lots of money. All right, whatever.
All right, moving on. Jessica, Defend Affirmative Action Party. You've mentioned several times that affirmative action is the issue that you concentrate on most. Maybe give us a sense of what you guys feel is pertinent besides affirmative action next year.
Well, as a Defend Affirmative Action Party on MSA, we've had around 10 representatives on MSA for the past year and a half now, and we have been the party that's taken up all the most central issues to students' lives. We put forward 2 resolutions calling for MSA to fight for tuition freeze. We defend the fraternities and sororities when fraternities were being scapegoated around the anti-drinking hysteria on campus. We fought around the resolution opposing the sanctions on Iraq. We basically have taken up all of the most pertinent issues over the past year and a half, and will continue to do so. And we absolutely represent all students and fight for every student's interest on this campus. But I think unarguably the most important issue that we are going to have to be facing on this campus is the question of affirmative action, because I think that we have yet to, one of our jobs on campus as student leaders and as MSA representatives is to convey to people the extreme importance of the fight that we're facing on this campus. And I think that's something that a lot of people haven't yet come to realize, that this is not just a question about some specific policies that our university wants to defend, but this is really a question of the whole concept of whether our society should be based on equality and whether our society is going to have any kind of social programs to offset that inequality. And this includes numerous programs that I'm sure other candidates support, like the WISE program and all the other programs that are here to support minority students and women students on this campus. They will all be gone. And additionally, a lot of poor white students and lower middle class white students will be driven from this campus if the attack on affirmative action is successful, because this is absolutely a fight about the very right of minorities and women and poor white people to have access to high quality education at elite universities like this. So I think it's completely unarguable that our most important issue will be affirmative action on the campus.
All right, thanks very much for that, Jessica. All right, wrapping it up now, I'd just like to once again present each vice presidential candidate to take a look at them one last time before next week's crucial vote. To my left, Jessica Curtin from the Defend Affirmative Action Party. To her left, Sarah Sweat from the Frat Party. Jim Secreto stands to her left as an independent. And Elise Erickson from representing the Blue Party, vice presidential candidates. Thanks for joining us. All right, we'll be back with the presidential candidates. All 6 of them are going to be here to debate the hottest issues going around school. Stay with us. All right, thanks for staying with us. Now we're going to speak with all six presidential candidates. We're going to debate some of the hotter issues going on around campus. First, I'd like to introduce all of our 6 presidential candidates here with us today. To my left is Galax Star Nebulon from the frat party. To his left, Erica Dowdell from the Defend Affirmative Action Party. To her left is Kim Stewart representing the All People's Party. To her left is Glenn Rowe from the Blue Party. The independent candidate is Hideki Tsutsumi. And all the way on our far right is Rory Diamond representing the Wolverine Party. Thank you for joining us, candidates. All right, now how this is going to work is I'm going to ask a couple of general questions. I'm going to present a question and ask it to 2 individual people. They're purely at random. They're purely, they're not in any way concentrating on any of your more specific issues. You're going to have 2 minutes to answer the questions, and then we're going to move on. All right, our first question is for Rory, all the way on our right. The lawsuit a student from the University of Wisconsin has raised regarding the allocation of student funds has reached the United States Supreme Court. What would you say to a student here at UM who has a problem with the way his or her money is being allocated to different student clubs?
Well, if a student has a problem with the way their student group is being funded or not funded at all, the best thing to do is cast a vote for the Wolverine Party, because we're about opening up the student government and blowing it wide open for all students. The big problem with the Michigan Student Assembly is not just the way it has funding practices, but the problem is that it's controlled by a group of people who want to keep their friends in the assembly. The Wolverine Party and my vice presidential candidate and I want to blow it wide open. We want to make the assembly a place where all students can come in and get their voices be heard. The idea here is that the assembly is dead in the water and it's not doing anything. It's not moving. There's no excitement. There's no enthusiasm. That student that has a problem with getting student group funding is having a problem because there's no one there to listen to him or her. What we want to do is give that person a person to go to, like me or any member of the Wolverine Party who's enthusiastic, who's excited, and who loves Michigan, and who's willing to do this for the right reasons, not for their resume, but because it's the right thing to do. I would say to that person, come talk to us. We're going to do the right thing.
All right, thanks for answering that, Rory. Moving on, we're going to ask Kim Stewart, representing the All People's Party, that same question. Would you like me to repeat it, Kim?
No, it's okay. I would encourage that student, first and foremost, to join a student organization and make sure that they have access to those funds. One of the things that I put on last week and that my party helped me with and endorsed was a funding forum, which is where we encourage other student organizations, other student governments, other student groups to get together, work together, co-sponsor, seek other sources. And if somebody had a fundamental problem with just putting their money towards, say, a certain cause that they don't support, I'd say join the opposing cause and get your message out there so there's truly free speech and that everyone hears both sides of the story.
All right, thanks very much, Kim. Our next question is going to be directed to Hideki. Parking on campus has always been an issue for students. There's always been trouble. But this year it seems especially there's a major shortage of spaces around school. If elected, will this problem be addressed under your administration?
My platform is cheaper textbooks, lower tuition, and cheaper and better quality dorm food, and improving the university bus system. I think it's important to focus on few issues and make sure that get them done. So I will not address. Our main issue is these 4 issues. So
okay,
other issues I wouldn't spend too much time.
Well, you did mention busing.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel is the problem with the busing, the way the school handles the busing system to North Campus?
As a North Campus resident, I know what they want. For example, on weekends, you have to wait like 40 minutes or something. I think it's too much time. So if elected president, I'd like to make sure that more buses run on weekends. By lobbying the university to provide more buses on weekends.
All right, thanks very much. Glenn, how would you address the potential parking issue that's going on right now?
Well, parking is already an issue. I don't know if students are aware or not, but the administration has already decided to cut the green lot parking spots on campus. Green lots are free as of now. What the administration has already decided to do without asking for student input is cut it. Now all the green spots will become orange, which will charge students for spaces that were previously free. Next year, if I'm elected, my administration will definitely address this. This is putting the faculty over students, and that's not right. We're the ones who pay to go here. What we will do is fight with the administration and let them know that students need to be included in these decisions above everyone else. That is what we will do, and we will certainly combat all issues that address parking.
All right, thanks very much, Glenn. Moving on, we're going to ask this question directed towards Galaxter, right to my left. The issue that has dominated the news throughout the semester this year has been the SEC's takeover of the Michigama offices. How well do you think this situation was handled by MSA and the administration of the university? And if you think it wasn't handled well, how would you have run it maybe perhaps a little bit differently?
All right. Well, first of all, my name is Galaxter Nebula. Yeah, now I think that this issue is best, I think I can say it best by using a fable. That'll kind of tell you what's going on here. Let's think of the story of the little girl who's going to the movies with her dad. And she's going in, and on her way in, she sees a group of her friends there at the movies, including her crush, Tommy. Now, she's really embarrassed about this. She doesn't want to be seen with her parents, so, she hides her face and kind of hides behind her parents and makes her way into the movies unnoticed, and whew, is that ever good? It would be disastrous if Tommy saw her here. Well, so during the movie, she's eating some nachos, right? And accidentally spills some nacho cheese sauce on herself. So she goes out to the bathroom to clean it off, and oh my God, there's everybody. All of her friends, including Tommy, are looking at her and laughing at her. Furthermore, she's on her period then, so it makes it even more embarrassing. She thought she would die of embarrassment. And I think that's...
Sir, how does this pertain to the SEC's takeover of the Michigama offices? This is a really important issue that has been a focus of a lot of people this year, that's taken very seriously by a lot of people. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but there seems to be a lot of people that were offended, and then there was issues going into traditions of the university. How does this pertain to what we're talking about now?
Well, I think my statements are perfectly clear. I mean, the players are all represented there, Michigama, and you just gotta read into the fable a little. You always gotta, you can't always just take everything right at face value there. Sometimes you gotta look a little deeper and see what's going on, see what's really going on.
All right. Thanks very much. Okay, we're going to ask this question again to Erica Dowdell from the Defend Affirmative Action Party. Erica, would you like me to repeat the question for you?
No, thank you. I think that Michigan Student Assembly did its job well dealing with the issue. I think the administration did not do their job well. Two of the resolutions that were brought, one in support of the SEC occupation, the other in favor of a more public tower, were brought by members of the Defend Affirmative Action Party. I think that the university was more concerned with the donations that they get from the alumni who were members of Michigama in the past, then addressing the concerns of the students that were in the tower. We think that myself, and the Defend Affirmative Action Party think that it's not a question of free speech. We're not trying to suppress the free speech of Michigama, but they should not be guaranteed space by the University of Michigan. They come from a standpoint of elitism and money, and that's what determined their space. And the university did not address the concerns of the students in the tower. They care way more about the money they were getting from the alumni.
All right, thanks very much, Erica, for that answer. Glenn, this question is going to be directed towards you. This year, everyone's focus, or a lot of candidates, seem to be focusing their platform around lowering tuition or a tuition freeze. I think a lot of people are wondering how exactly people would go about doing this.
Okay, the primary way that tuition is calculated at this university is the budget is set by the administration, and then what they do is lobby at the state level to get more funding. After the funding level has been determined by the state, then the tuition makes up the difference. We, as a new administration, will continue the practices of the current assembly of sending students to lobby in Lansing and at the federal level. What that will do is just ensure that more and more state funding goes to the schools and the universities instead of the prisons. What students have to keep in mind is also that the state has put a cap at the tuition rate increase that it can go at. Otherwise, we lose state funding. So what we need to keep in mind is that the tuition increases will very likely not go over 3%. A tuition freeze could very well lead to the services and the status of this university being decreased. And quite frankly, coming to the University of Michigan and being a student here is something that I appreciate, I am very proud of. And a tuition freeze could take that away, and I don't think that's a good thing.
All right, thanks very much, Glenn. Hideki, the same question. Would you like me to repeat it for you?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Right now, I like to lobby the state government to get more funding from the state of Michigan to the university, you know, to keep it as low as possible. But right now, I think, you know, only MSA is doing, you know, just people on MSAs trying to, you know, lobby the state government. I'd like to get more people involved in the process by, you know, collecting petitions from students so that, you know, we have more support, more, you know, voices. That's why I've been campaigning, you know, for a year, you know, to get them interested in this issue.
All right, let me just touch on that thing that you just mentioned, that you have been campaigning for a year.
Mm-hmm.
What maybe are some of the experiences that you have, and why? I think a lot of people are wondering why you've been such a presence around the university for the entire year.
Okay, the biggest problem MSA has been facing is that, you know, MSA is too detached from the student body. You know, not many people know, you know, what MSA is doing, and many people don't even know the current president, the name of the current president. And I think, you know, I think that most people don't vote because they don't know, mostly they don't meet the candidates. So that's why I decided to campaign early, to meet as many students as possible and to tell them, you know, my platform.
All right, thanks very much. Moving on, our next question is going to be directed towards Rory. The drop in minority enrollment is definitely a major issue circulating campus. Is this an issue that concerns you and your party? And if it is, how would you go about reversing the much talked about drop in enrollment?
Well, this is an issue that affects Michigan students, so it has to affect the Michigan Student Assembly. There are a couple ways you can go about trying to increase the minority enrollment of our university. The first is to use MSA as some sort of political vessel that's going to suddenly change the world by ending sanctions against the people of Iraq, freezing tuition, doing all these amazing things. That's one way to try and do it, pass meaningless resolutions. There's another way to do it, and one that makes sense, and that is get consensus on campus about what we think about minority enrollment. Just ask people, ask students, get out there, break out of the MSA ring, and ask students what they think about minority enrollment, what they think about minority groups and what's going on. And you need to ask Caucasian students, you need to ask Jewish students, you need to ask all students. I mean, we can't just aim at certain different demographics in the assembly and hope that we can win an election. What we have to do is, in a broad way, ask students what they think. And once we get some sort of consensus about what students want us to do, then we need to take those drastic steps forward together as an assembly. Right now, you've got the Defend Affirmative Action Party, you've got the Blue Party, you've got some independents, and they're all fighting each other. It's a bicker match every Tuesday night. The problem is there's no leadership on the assembly to get a consensus, to get people together. First, we need to address what's wrong with the assembly, we need to talk to students, we need to get some leadership, and then we can handle the serious issues like the drop in minority enrollment, which we do care about.
All right, thanks very much, Rory. Kim Stewart from the All People's Party. How would you go about reversing this drop in enrollment that we're speaking of?
Well, to answer the question, I would say working with administrators to make sure that there's proper funding and that there's strength in the programs that they already have. For instance, the ambassador program. The last 2 nights there was a call out where they called students of color and that had been accepted here to confirm their enrollment in the University of Michigan. The Lighthouse program, which goes out and recruits underrepresented Asian American students, specifically Hmong students, to help bring them into the university. Let the students know that there are resources here for them, that they are included in this picture of diversity here at the University of Michigan. Other things that we'd like to deal with in the drop is not only enrollment, but matriculation and retention, which has to do with the fact that once we get junior, senior year, tuition goes up, and there's not as much funding support from the university as possible. So one of the things that we would do as a program is propose a scholarship fair at the end of the year, which we would have a bunch of different vendors, people who are putting forth scholarships, come in and let students know where to go so they can find that financial support that they need, showing students how to fill out their financial aid form, letting them know when to send it in, especially first needs students who may not have those skills when they first come here, and they have the duty put on them to fill this out, apply for scholarships, apply for loans, and actually walking them through this process.
All right, great, thanks a lot, Kim. Erica, now we've heard that Defend Affirmative Action Party, of course, called the Defend Affirmative Action Party. We know that you have a strong stance on this issue. Well, I think what a lot of people would want to know is, do you find any problems with the way that MSA is currently handling this issue? Would you change? How would you go about changing things if you were elected president?
If I was elected president, I would focus on building the student movement, and that's one of the reasons why I am running for president of MSA. This university and this nation is at a crossroads. The most important issue in America at the University of Michigan is, are we going to go back to a segregated society with Jim Crow laws, or are we going to keep moving towards equality and integration? And the Michigan Student Assembly has to be prepared to lead students in this new movement to defend affirmative action, because it's the only way that affirmative action will be safe. It's the only way that we can win these court cases. So I will be mobilizing students. We have been doing it for the past 2 years. We will continue to do it. But MSA has to take the leadership role in leading students across the nation, and specifically on this campus, to defend affirmative action, because it is the most pertinent issue in America and on this campus.
All right, thank you very much, Erica. All right, moving on, now we're going to go to a little bit different part of our debate. The way the rest of this format is going to work is I'm going to ask a specific question that pertains to each party and their platform, and then we're going to have another candidate respond to that issue and maybe tweak with that how they would handle it and see if they find any fault personally or professionally with that. First, we're going to start out asking Glenn from the Blue Party. Glenn, you have proposed a review of the UHS services. Now, what would go under this proposed review? And there's also been stated in your platform that you would like to maybe move to a 24-hour UHS or expanding the services in some way. If you would like, if this is in fact true, how would you go about paying for the new coverage?
Okay, on the UHS review, I personally, as well as many other stories I've heard, have gone to UHS and come out with horror stories. I went in and I got a diagnosis from the UHS. It was a simple thing like a cold, and I left, and then they didn't solve the problem. I had to go back actually to my family doctor in Saginaw because they misdiagnosed me. This is a huge problem. UHS is very important on campus. You can't be a good student and you can't perform academically if your health is not well. What we want to do is, once you leave UHS, to fill out a survey. MSA will take those results, such as, how were you treated? Were the doctors seem knowledgeable? Did they treat you in a fast manner, or did you have to wait in the lobby for hours upon hours? And we'll take those results, compile them, and analyze them, and take them back to UHS and say, look, you guys are supposed to serve students, and you're not doing that. Let's fix it. Let's work with you and make sure that you're living up to the expectations that you need to be. As far as a 24 UHS, that's not part of our platform, because that would be very, very economically not feasible. What we want to do is make sure that UHS is more accessible. They close 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon. What we want to do is make sure that they're accessible at least until 10 o'clock. Maybe have a station, like a health station, educational in Pierpont or the Union, to make sure that students are available to get the information on the hours that they actually function. Students don't function on a 9 to 5 schedule. We are up late. We need that stuff accessible to us.
All right, thanks, Glenn. Now, I think it would be appropriate for Rory from the Wolverine Party to respond to this question, because you've maybe mentioned some things about a 24-hour CCRB and a 24-hour library.
Well, absolutely. I like Glenn a lot, and I like the Blue Party. I think they're filled with a lot of nice people. But essentially what we've been promised here is a trip to Vegas in a car without an engine. I mean, we're going to be promised the world, but they're not giving us realistic ways to accomplish these goals. The fact is, the Assembly has been defunct for a year. It's been dead in the water, and now we're getting a whole nother slate of issues, like real politicians out there promising us the world and then not delivering. Well, that's what we're getting again. UHS is a serious issue. It needs to be handled by serious people who are going to make achievable goals. Overhauling UHS, well, we can't even get the sales tax off textbooks. We can't even get toilet paper in all the different stalls. I mean, we've got to make achievable goals. As far as health services go, the Wolverine Party stands for getting toilet seat covers in every bathroom and soap in every dorm. That makes sense. That's an achievable, smart goal to increase health. Also, some of the tables in the different libraries and things, they need to be cleaned more properly, because right now disease is getting spread throughout the university. These are smart, achievable goals. Don't let someone promise you the world. As far as 24 hours things go, essentially student life is 24 hours. Glenn is absolutely right. We're not 9 to 5 people. In fact, I'm asleep most of the time from 9 to 5. After 5 o'clock, all the way through the night, we need to have these things open. Libraries and unions. The big problem is other Big Ten universities, other large public universities have 24-hour libraries, 24-hour unions. They've got things going. But Michigan, this Harvard of the Midwest, we've got nothing. Our administration doesn't care about us. They don't understand student life. MSA has been defunct for a year. The Wolverine Party would put that all back together, and then we'd get to Vegas in a car with an engine.
All right, thanks very much, Rory. Hideki, we'll move on and ask you a question. You have stated in your platform that you would, and I quote, work to privatize dorm foods. I think a lot of people are wondering what exactly you mean by this and how would it work?
Okay, right now the dining services is university owned, and I think the system like that wouldn't have any incentive to respond to the needs of the students. So I'd like to privatize the dining services, like to independent contractors like Marriott Corporation to bid on contracts. And I think if with more independent contractors, I believe that the prices and quality of dorm food will improve because of law of supply and demand.
All right, thanks very much, Hideki. Kim Stewart from the All People's Party. This is an issue that Hideki has been promoting all year long. Do you have any problems with the way he presents it, or what do you think about the issue in general?
I think privatization is a great idea, something that should be explored, but it shouldn't be something that is miscalculated or premature. We have to really make sure that it's something that is feasible and accessible to the dorms, and that is something that's more long-term. I think something that's more today, more now, that students can benefit from right now is going into the residence halls, working with Mr. Zeller and Mr. Zers from the housing department, and seeing if we can work on a more flexible, more feasible meal plan, if we can extend Entree Plus, extend M-Chip, so that students can have other options. I think that's something that's more feasible that students can benefit from right now.
All right, thanks very much, Kim. Now we're going to move on to the next question directed towards our Defend Affirmative Action candidate, Erica Daldale. Erica, you have proposed to abolish the student code. It's been talked about a lot this year. And this code, which outlines the rules and regulations that UM students are required to follow, has been carefully developed over many years. Why do you exactly disapprove of the code, and what would you plan to implement in favor of this current code?
I am very much in favor of abolishing the code. The code is unconstitutional. It violates various rights that are guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution. And I think what would be needed to abolish the code and give students more power in their own beings is a massive student struggle to overturn the administration's use of the code. It's unconstitutional. You have no rights as a student at all. You are not given the rights that you're given as a citizen of the United States because you decide to come to the University of Michigan under the code. That's unconstitutional, and it would take a massive student struggle to overturn that code, and I'm definitely in favor of that.
All right, thanks very much. Galaxter, what do you think about this code? I mean, it's definitely a hot issue going on right now. Are you satisfied with the way it operates?
Well, I stand for, and the frat party also stands for replacing the Code of Student Conduct with the Morse Code of Student Conduct. And under that system, if a student has a conflict with the university or with another student, then that problem could be transmitted across wires to a land where problems don't exist. So I think that would handle the situation much better than the current Code of Conduct does.
All right, thank you. All right, moving right along, back to Rory. On the MSA online voting website, you said, and I'm going to quote here, MSA is a joke. And that's the end. You have the quote. You went on to say that you and your party have a 5-point platform to fix MSA. What do you feel is the main problems with the Michigan Student Assembly right now, and how does your 5-point plan combat these problems?
Well, the main problem is party names being on the ballot. Right now, we've got parties which give us all the bad things that real-life Democrat and Republican parties give us. Backbiting, divisions, all the bad things, without the good things like ideology and intelligent people working towards moderation. So I think we need to get rid of the party names off the ballot. So we have a bunch of independents. So someone like Hideki here can get elected without, having this huge party machine. It makes sense to take this entire partisanship out of our assembly because we've got people yelling at each other and screaming, and people are voting on party line instead of for what they honestly think is the right thing. We need to get rid of the party names. Secondly, we need to make it more difficult to be a Michigan Student Assembly rep. The big problem right now is apathy. If you go and look at the last year in the minutes, you'll see that people aren't showing up. You'll see that people are abstaining from votes. Abstentions are for conflicts of interest, not for conflicts of character. People are essentially not involved in the assembly. We need to slash the number of absences people can have and increase the required committee hours. We need to make sure that we have energetic people. Get rid of the party names, make it more difficult to be a rep, and you've got a more productive assembly. We also need to blow it wide open so that students aren't afraid to walk in there, so that students know who we are. We need to get out there and talk to people. I mean, this is student government, and it is a joke. It's the longest running joke on this campus. Someone like Galaxar can run, and you know what? He's going to get votes because students are thinking, MSA, what have they ever done for me? We need to get out there and change the way it works.
All right, now, Hideki, we're running short on time, so maybe you can answer this in 30 seconds or less. He mentioned that ridding of parties. Why did you decide to run as an independent?
I think parties don't represent issues, and I think they're the product of MSA that simply exists to help people get elected. So that's why I'm running as an independent to focus on real issues.
All right, thank you. Kim Stewart of the All People's Party. One of your goals is an all-inclusive campus. What exactly does this mean, and how do you plan to attack this goal?
One of the main things, I guess, that I could tack on also from what Roy was saying is MSA needs to be more inclusive of everyone on campus, students who are involved in this university and students who are not as involved in this university. A prerequisite to running with our party is that you had to be part of one student organization. We think that that will help the tide bring MSA back to student organizations. One of the things making all-inclusive is we work for programs of diversity as well as integration. I think a lot of people throw on the road diversity and multiculturalism, and that just essentially means having a bunch of different people here. But one of the things we work towards is integration. Myself and my vice president, he apologized because he has to go to work, but one of the things we both do is intergroup dialogues, and that brings dialogues between uncommon partners, people of color, white people, men, women, LGBT, heterosexual, and we want to be able to have people feel more integrated into this society here at Michigan. One of the things that we advocate is a mixture between international and domestic students. Also in this quest for diversity and multiculturalism, intercultural, international students are kind of excluded from that picture.
All right, Kim, thanks very much. If I could have Glenn, if you could respond to this. Now, you actually are on MSA right now. You've mentioned that. You're sort of taking a lot of heat from the other candidates about how the MSA is run. Would you care to respond to Kim's comments about how she would like to raise an all-inclusive campus and maybe how you guys have tried to go after that issue?
Absolutely. As a current member of the Assembly, I do take offense to comments that Michigan Student Assembly isn't doing anything right now. Blue Party members have both fought the code, co-sponsored resolutions regarding the occupation of the Tower of Michigama, and most importantly, at least in my mind as budget chair, is the total process has been reformed and more money has been given out to student groups than ever before. And BPC is currently working to do what Kim said and make this campus more inclusive. Part of our platform under concepts is reforming the way that the Michigan Student Assembly is structured. The Environmental Issues Commission of MSA right now works as an umbrella group for all the environmental organizations on campus. They work together. They have access to MSA's resources, the infrastructure, the manpower. That's how every commission on MSA should function. For instance, the Women's Issues Commission should have representatives on there from Feminists Unite and Undergraduate Women's Studies Association and SAPEC. We have solid proposals for how to address this issue. And if elected, believe me, it will happen.
All right, thanks very much, Glenn. All right, now we have about a few minutes left. If we're going to have each party wrap up with some closing statements. We're going to start with you. We're immediately to my left from the frat party. If you could take only about 45 seconds because we don't have much time, just to wrap up your plans in the next year in about 45 seconds. Thank you.
All right. First, I'd like to clear up the misconception that the frat party is a joke party. We're serious about fun issues. Second, I'd like to tell you my dream for this nation that I think can start to be realized right here on this campus today. And that dream is that I was taking high school classes even though I was in college, and my ex-girlfriend was going out with my high school physics teacher, who's pretty attractive, but in my dream he'd blown off his hand in a physics experiment. So I picked up the two of them, and all three of us were in a car, and it was kind of awkward because we didn't know how to behave around one another. And that's my dream for this nation.
All right, thank you very much, Galaxter. Erica, would you like to wrap it up with some closing statements?
The Michigan Student Assembly must be prepared to present leaders of the new student movement and the new integrated civil rights movement. We have to face the question of, are we prepared to defend access to education for minority students, and are we prepared to uphold the quality of education for all students at the University of Michigan? And the affirmative action cases that are going to trial this fall are going to be the determination of that, and we have to be prepared to stand up and be the leaders of this new student struggle, and that's what we're prepared to do.
All right, thank you very much. Erica, we're real short now, about 30 seconds of closing statements, please.
The All People's Party is very much dedicated to creating an all-inclusive university that helps women, students of color, able-bodied, disabled students see their face in MSA and be able to come to us with questions and comments. I think I'm the most qualified candidate because I've been serving as MSA Communications Chair twice, and I think that being able to have students on the body that you can go to speak to that you've seen in your community is very important, and we want to work in the communities more and make MSA more accessible to students. Vote All People's Party.
All right, Kim Stewart of the All People's Party. Glenn, from the Blue Party, would you care to wrap it up for us?
Absolutely. Elise and I have a lot of experience on the Assembly. I think it speaks for itself. And me personally, I oversee hundreds of applications coming in about student groups across campus and what they care about. And more importantly, the Blue Party as a whole is very diverse and represents a lot of different viewpoints on campus, which is why Blue Party has the Catch Our Vision slogan this term, because we're not focusing on one issue. We're focusing on a number of issues across campus that mean a lot to everybody, and we are committed to addressing each one of those. That is why you should elect myself, Elise, and the Blue Party, because we will address everyone's issues.
All right, thank you very much. That's Glenn Rowe representing the Blue Party. And Hideki, independent candidates, would you care to summarize your platforms for us?
Okay, the poet Henry David Thoreau once wrote, "I cannot make my days longer, so I strive to make them better." With this election, we here at the University of Michigan also have an opportunity to make our college days better. During my campaign, I have spoken with many of you about your many concerns. I have spoken with Danielle Vining, a freshman, who said she feels the prices of textbooks are too expensive. If you elect me president, I'm going to help you save money with cheaper new textbooks, a lower rate of increase of tuition, better and cheaper quality dorm food, and improving the improved university bus system. So please vote for Hi. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Hideki. And finally, Rory Diamond, all the way on the right. Would you like to say some closing statements for us?
Absolutely, thanks. The Wolverine Party is filled with excited, enthusiastic students. We're all over campus. We're from every part of campus. You've seen our paws everywhere. We're putting them all over campus because we're working hard, and we're trying to bring our student government back to life. We are regular students with nothing better to do than make Michigan better. That's what we're out to do. We're excited, we're enthusiastic. Jump on the Wolverine Party because we're going to have a great time. We're going to make our student government work again.
All right, that's once again Rory from the Wolverine Party. Just want to send it across the line again. We have Galaxter from the Frat Party, Erica Dowdell from the Defend Affirmative Action Party, Kim Stewart of the All People's Party. Representing the Blue Party is Glenn Rowe, independent candidate Hideki Tutsami, and finally Rory Diamond from the Wolverine Party. Those are your 6 presidential candidates. Now, I'd like to take one brief minute if I can. The University of Michigan was founded in 1877 on the principles that it stands for now today. It's obviously a very important time for this university, and it's very important that each one of you get out and vote on the 22nd and 23rd. Each one of our candidates today has worked very hard to present a lot of platforms. They've campaigned over the past couple weeks, and they really need your support. So please, don't take this lightly. Get out there, vote. You can vote online. You can vote at voting booths around the university. Once again, it is the 22nd and 23rd. I'm Matt Engelberg from WOLV Student Television, reminding you to watch Newsfeed nightly at 10 p.m. right here on WOLV. Thanks for joining us, and get out there and vote.